not related. So these are issues which the House of Reps, failed to look into. They were thinking about the last man at the top, which is the Attorney General. Before the Attorney General can see a file, it has gone through so many stages. So in that respect, I think they've not done justice to that. One other thing which they could have done to strengthen, the interest of justice in Nigeria is to allow for independent prosecutor. Even if the federal government or whoever the ruling party controls the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, like Bisi is of that viewpoint, I believe that whether you separate it or not, if you don't allow for independent prosecutor, whereby the National Assembly on its own can decide, or the State House of Assembly, to appoint an independent prosecutor to look into issues. Because we are in a country where you do have issues of importance to the people, of serious interest, and people are concerned about what is going on. They have their representatives, and the federal government could take a different viewpoint. The Attorney General cannot prosecute. And what then happens? The House of Reps needs to come in, or Senate, whichever, and then appoint an independent prosecutor to look into those issues. So they have not done any holistic review at all.
Sorry, I do not want to hold brief for the House of Rep, so I will say let's go to Honorable Ibrahim El-Sudi now and ask him, there's a possibility that there is a lot more to this than meet the eye, or than what we're discussing so far. Honorable, can you tell us, are you considering any kind of measure to change the framework that exists currently for the Nigeria Police Force as we know it?
Well, I have not gotten your question. It's cracking. So.
Okay. Honorable, I'll ask the question again. Is there anything in the proposal by the House of Representatives today that points to the fact that there are changes required that will make it such that the Nigeria Police will be as independent as can be, so that they who do the investigation that leads to the prosecution that the Attorney General will be taking to court will become something that is useful? At the moment, the Inspector General of Police is there by virtue of the fact that he's appointed by the President and endorsed by the Senate or National Assembly. But will that person be able to occupy that office and owe no allegiance to any political party or anybody in government, but to the people of Nigeria?
Well, as far as the constitutional amendment as regards to the autonomy or independence of the police, I will tell you what has only been done is the change of nomenclature from Nigeria Police Force to the Nigerian Police, Nigerian Police, in line with the Armed Forces Act. Although the police force, as it stands now, does not belong to the armed forces. But we have the Nigerian Army, we have the Nigerian Navy, we have the Nigerian Air Force. So we should have a Nigerian police rather than Nigeria Police Force. Maybe that is why they exhibit some brutal force in their operations. But that is a food for thought. We do not have to put almost everything in the Constitution. That is not what the Constitution contemplates when it empowers us to alter under Section 9. What is contemplated is we have the Police Act. We can insert certain functions and some measure of independence for the Inspector General of Police. But let's first of all finish with the Constitution. And in the process of doing that, we can go back to the Nigeria Police Act and accordingly make some amendments there. I just want to make a comment, chip in a comment. Maybe many Nigerians do not know that attorneys general, the only criteria being used in the appointment of attorney general, as commented by the two speakers down there in Lagos. Incidentally, I'm also a legal practitioner, or let me say I'm a lawyer, and I was the attorney general of my state, Taraba State, and therefore I know how appointments have been done. In most of the appointments, there is nothing like any thorough scrutiny of appointing an attorney general. Once the governor feels that he wants you as the attorney general, so be it. You just become the attorney general. Some people are even taken from banks. Some people from some companies are made attorneys general. How do you expect such kind of person to perform very well and to prosecute independently? He cannot be independent-minded. But somebody from either the Ministry of Justice or from private practice background, not an armchair lawyer, will be able to prosecute very well because he knows that at the end of the day, he can still go back to his practice. But as it is today, except at the federal level where senior advocates, as a matter of convention or precedent, are appointed as ministers, and there is the belief that they are in active practice, you find out that automatically at the state level the criteria is not as rigorous as that of the federal at the federal level.
Okay, thank you very much.
Therefore, to think of parliamentary system and to devise a means that we're missing the point, I think we are not missing the point.
Okay,
we know where it pinches. We know what is happening at the state level. Okay. And therefore, the steps we have taken in the right direction.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable. Now, Biodun, you were going to say something.
Yeah, on the local government autonomy, which is the other part of the House of Reps submission as given to us by Honorable Ibrahim, is to what extent? Because we are just scratching the surface. Now, have they defined the streams of income for a local government? Can they, in reality, define the streams of income for all local governments in the country before you can say have financial independence? They're only talking about one stream of income, which is federal allocation. There are other streams of income, of money accruable to local government, which state government can still sit on. You will be surprised that in some local government, these other streams of income, which is the IGR, even surpasses what they get from federal allocation. So when you are looking at half of the issue, without looking at it in totality, then we are scratching the surface. Number two.
No, Biodun, I'm sorry. I think the point is, no matter where you get your money from, you are free to spend that money the way you want. Because he said total autonomy.
That's correct. But the reality is this. The state, because it will be in variance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic, you have the exclusive and the residual powers and all that. Now, the states have certain functions defined by the Constitution, and they have total control over that. For instance, the local government used to collect what they call tenement rates. Is that changed to land use charge, and now it's being controlled by the state. And they've done that legally and correctly because the land is vested in the state. So when that function was taken away from local government, how would you correct that? And meanwhile, local government will have depended on it. The other issue is this. What about the issue of oversight function? The houses of assemblies are responsible, for local government. How do you regulate local government if in reality, you have absolute independence for them, in terms of revenue, in terms of administration? There must be an oversight function. It's like saying the executive arm of the government should have absolute, control. Somebody must be responsible for regulating what they are doing. What can be defined clearly in the Constitution is about the federal allocation that goes to local government. But if you talk about all the resources, that is not correct because it will be at variance with certain sections of the provisions of the Constitution in relation, to the states. And therefore, they have not told us that they are amending that part.
Okay,
and that's
we will find out. But let's check with Bisi Adegbuyi here. In terms of what is being done, would you say it's a chicken and egg situation, or we're putting the cart before the horse? Because when you look at what Biodun just said regarding the local governments, the independence is extremely important. But the revenue being generated and income for them that will make it such that they're viable as local authorities may not be there. Should we then say for that reason, don't make the changes yet until you have their financial viability resolved, or does that form part of what will be in the Constitution? Can the Constitution actually accommodate all of these issues? Or are they procedural issues that will not be in the Constitution?
I believe we're working very hard in the wrong direction. Because we are bad copycats in Nigeria. You run the presidential system of government, copied from the